The 49ers had a joint practice with the Broncos yesterday and kind of got their ass kicked. We'll talk about it next. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard podcast, part of the Pro Football Insiders. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. That is not Michelle Majuk with me like usual on Friday. Instead, Dieter Kurtenbach is here. What's up, Dieter?
Hey, how you doing?
I am great. Very excited to have you back. I was listening intently to your pod. If anyone doesn't know the Dieter and Hutch podcast, I know that you were dealing with some bed bugs at one point. You've overcome a lot to be here today.
I mean, no one has ever said that this game was easy, but I just make it look easy, you know?
Think of the content creators. That's all we ask people. A lot to break down on today's show. The 49ers had a joint practice with the Broncos yesterday, and by all accounts, except other than David Lombardi, they kind of got their ass kicked.
Yeah, that's par for the course there. Listen, you know, the guy was a swimmer. I mean, he knows how to carry water. It's okay.
Nicely done. Not shocking to me, really. Like, maybe I'm looking at this through rose-colored glasses, but there had been so many good reports about the 49ers practices and everybody looks good. And I think it was kind of a reality check for them to be like, actually, you're not as good as you think. And the Broncos have a very good team and a very good defense.
Well, I think that you don't have to go in on anyone who said that the 49ers look good in practice, because they have. I've been out there enough. They've looked good at practice. That doesn't mean that they are good. Like, there is a difference between the team looking good in practice when it plays itself and then the team playing football against other teams. This is a talent issue for the 49ers. And it doesn't surprise me at all that the Denver Broncos, who it sounds like it was just Sans, Dre Greenlaw, like that they were way ahead of them when it came to their defense versus the 49ers offense. Like, that doesn't shock me in the least bit. It doesn't shock me in the least bit that the 49ers defense didn't exactly impress, because I'm looking at this team right now and you're asking a lot of young players, a lot of first-year players with this team to step in and take starting roles. But even more so than that, Rob, like, they're just injured to high heaven. I mean, you want to start with something. Let's start with the wide receiver room. Who was out there yesterday? Yeah, Ricky Pearsall was out there yesterday. He got to go up. Ricky Pearsall got to go up against the number one corner in the NFL repeatedly, and it apparently took him about an hour to get anything on him, which is that's not Ricky Pearsall's fault that he can't beat Patrick Surtain the second. Like, that's not his fault. Like, Jamar Chase has a problem with that guy. So that's your number one receiver right now, by the way, because Demarcus Robinson, who has looked good, isn't going to be here for the first 3 games if the NFL ever gets around to suspending him. Brandon Ayuk sure as hell ain't coming back. I'm just considering 25 a wash season for Ayuk. Anything he gives you is gravy. But, like, expectations, that's foolish. Big questions on Jennings, and we'll get into that, I'm sure. Like, Jordan Watkins apparently had a good day. That's great. Like, that's actually might be the biggest news that came out of yesterday, that Jordan Watkins looked good, because that is such a necessity for a team that legitimately might have to keep Russell Gage on the roster, or like Russell Gage and Equanimeous St. Brown. Like, this wide receiver room at its peak, if everybody's healthy, you're like, oh, that might be like 13th, 14th, 15th best in the NFL. As it stands now, it is dead last. This is the worst receiver room in the NFL, and nobody's higher on Ricky Pearsall than your boy. Like, I love Ricky. Ricky should be your 4, not your 1. And the fact that he's your 1 right now tells you everything you need to know. Like, how's this offense going to function if that's your receiver room?
See, I don't know. I have maybe a little more faith in Ricky. Like, I think Ricky was drafted to be a 1. Like, you took him in the first round for a reason, didn't they?
To be. Like, he was never supposed to be the 1. He's not one of those guys who was supposed to be immediate, right? Like, and you're also having to figure out, what position is best for him. And this was supposed to be the year, because let's not forget, the guy didn't practice last year. Like, not just the shooting, shoulder injuries. And then by the time he was back in the fold, they were at the part of the NFL season where you don't practice anymore. So you're just out there walking in the cold rain. That's what the 49ers do come every November, December, and January. So he hasn't practiced anything, to the point where you would see wasn't getting out of his, he wasn't running his routes right or to Brock Purdy's specifications. He wasn't lining up early in his career in the correct places. Deebo Samuel's clearly pointing out where he needs to line up. Like, it's on him, but also understandable. He didn't practice. He's being thrown into an NFL game without practice. That's a recipe for dying. Like, that's a pretty good way to get really hurt. And so for him to show out the way that he did is really impressive. But this was supposed to be the year that he kind of got his feet under. This was supposed to be the year where they figured out, is he the Z or is he a flanker or is he an X? Like, and we're going to mix and match, but we have the luxury of mixing and matching and maybe playing to his advantages and finding the right spot for him because we have a clear-cut number one in Brandon Ayuk, because we have a number two in Demarcus Robinson, because now we can move Juwan Jennings back to the slot where he needs to be because he needs that off-ball pressure. He can't handle press man-to-man. He needs that separation at the line of scrimmage. And now you can mix in Pearsall to wherever you like and find good spots for him. And now it's like, Ricky, can you play all three positions at the same time? Because that's
really dicey. Yes. I'm hopeful that it will work out. If you have Demarcus Robinson and Ricky Pearsall and maybe Juwan Jennings, although let's get into the Jennings things. You said there's a lot to get into. I like the fact that literally we're at the point now where they ask Kyle Shanahan, like, is this dude really hurt or does he just want more money? And John Lynch was on KMBR this week saying, he was specifically asked, are you talking with Juwan Jennings right now? And he didn't really say yes. He didn't answer the question. I almost wonder if they're thinking with Juwan is like, you know what? Ricky looks good. Watkins looks good. Maybe Cowing will look good. Like, we're not really in a rush to pay you when we just took care of you last year.
Right. I think the 49ers are in good standing to not go out and pay Juwan Jennings. I can appreciate that Juwan Jennings wants to get paid. Like, don't we all? But they did just give him a contract before last season. He had a great last season, but he's an older guy. He's injured, and he's one of the guys that, his body clock's a little bit higher. I think maybe is probably the way to phrase that better. Thank you, Rob. He's here for a good time, not for a long time, right? Like, that's the way Juwan Jennings plays. So I don't think they're keen to give him a long-term extension or anything. I don't think they're keen to give him a contract. They took care of all of their business months ago. Juwan Jennings wasn't part of that business. So they made that decision. I don't think they're wrong in that decision. And I don't think Juwan Jennings is wrong to be like, hey, my calf is acting up. I'm not going to push this thing. Now, if you want to give me some fiscal reassurances, maybe I'd be willing to go out there and play. If I know that my future is secure, I'm going to go out there and play. But I'm on the last year of my contract. I'm not going to go out there and whoops, there goes my Achilles. Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton. This guy watches basketball. He knows what happens when you play on a calf injury. I mean, I don't know what's going on with the Achilles tendon these days, but it ain't fun what's happening, and the threat is real. You can ask Christian McCaffrey about it. He had bilateral Achilles tendonitis last year. So, I mean, either one of them could have gone at any second. So I don't blame him at all for being like, we're going to milk this thing. And if that so happens to get me a new contract, so be it. But I'm not rushing back for training camp, given that my calf is tight. I've had tight calves, and we know what happens if I don't do this right. It's not the calf that goes next time. It's the whole thing, and then my career is donezo because Juwan Jennings, for as wonderful and winning a football player as he is, doesn't have a step or two to give up. He's already operating at the peak of his powers, and that's barely enough athletically for him to get by. Now, luckily, he's a great football player, and that still matters. But if Juwan Jennings is a step slower, Juwan Jennings is a step out the door in the NFL. I wouldn't be pushing it.
And I don't think either side is the bad guy in this. I really don't. I totally understand both sides of the equation. And, we'll see what eventually winds up happening. But I have no issue with anybody in this scenario, and we'll see what ultimately happens. I almost wonder if yesterday was a microcosm of what the 49ers season is going to be like, because by all accounts, the Niners really struggled early, kind of got dominated early, but then bounced back. And Brock Purdy made some plays later on. And I wonder if that's kind of what it's going to be like for the 49ers in some of these games where, especially earlier in the year, they might have to take a punch or two before they sort of get their act together.
That sounds to me like the Seattle Seahawks that we understood with Russell Wilson post Super Bowls. Like, that was the Russell Wilson way of going about his business and how the Seahawks operated, where it was like the first quarter and a half, they feel you out, And then Russ just goes, I'll do it myself, and just figures out some way to do it. I have long compared, and people do not like this at all. I'm never coming off of this. I am anchored. I have cemented my feet into the ground. Brock Purdy is the white Russell Wilson. He's the second coming. He is the counterbalance in the rivalry karma of just a decade of annoyance. Now the Seattle Seahawks get to deal with a decade of annoyance. There we go. Thank you. This is how it's going to go. It's going to be the game plan doesn't work. They don't have the players. I like the offensive line. The wide, hopefully Christian McCaffrey stays healthy because there's no other running backs right now. Unless you want Patrick Taylor toting the rock 25 times a game. How do we feel about Corey Kiner? How many tight ends can you get on the field at one time, Rob? And so that's where you're at. And it just feels like Brock's going to have to be like, fine, I'll do it myself. And he's going to he's going to reach into the hat, and he might pull out a rabbit. He might pull out something else. I mean, it's going to be exhausting. It's going to be torture all year. But I actually have a lot of faith in Brock in that regard. Like, I feel like Brock has magician-like qualities. He's clearly been blessed by some deity at some point down the line. And if you need to use the football gods to your advantage, you might as well. You might as well use it. Use it while you got it.
Well, I was listening to Kawakami and Barrows talk about Brock and this team, and they were kind of saying that there wasn't really a unit that the team could kind of lean on early, right, that it's going to take both of them. And I kind of disagree with that. When you have Kyle Shanahan as your play caller and Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle and Brock Purdy, you should be leaning on your offense. And I include Brock with the Kittle and McCaffrey, because he's not a rookie anymore. He's, he's an established veteran and player at this point who you just gave a massive contract to. You better be able to lean on your offense as opposed to a unit that could have 8 new starters on it.
I get where you're coming from there. And last year they scored, they didn't even score 400 points last year. I mean, that's the idea that talent wise, they've somehow gotten better on offense is a little difficult for me to believe, even though there hasn't been that many changes. We know the defense has been a big shift. Does this offense have 500 points in them? The way that Detroit has had the last couple of years, the way that Tampa had last year. I'm not sure I see that. I'm not sure I see 500 points. And that's kind of the threshold of where you need to be able to lean on the offense. Because this defense, with all of its young people, it gave up 436 points last year. Do we think it's getting better or worse going into this year, Rob?
How could it be worse?
Well, it can. I mean, I can appreciate that Robert Saleh can count to 12, but that doesn't mean that he's got the dudes to get this thing done. And again, I like a lot of what I see. I really do like a lot of what I see at training camp, but this Denver Broncos situation and Saturday will have no bearing on anything. But yesterday's practice should be a bit of an eye-opener. It's not about how good you look against yourself. It's how good you look when you play somebody else. That's the whole reason this league exists. And let's call it 400 points against, and I'm giving you an improvement, 400 points against for the 49ers this year. With all the rookies, with all the injuries and all these questions, safety is still a question mark for me. I don't know what's going on at corner. Everyone says it's going to be fine. I heard that with Christian McCaffrey last year. How'd that turn out? I don't trust anything anyone says. I'll believe the starting lineup in week 1. Let's call it 400 points. I mean, I think that this Niners offense absolutely can get 400 points, but that was what the Arizona Cardinals did last year. There is a threshold to this to where you say, is this a top 5 offense? Because the way that other teams score, offense is so consistently good. There's 4 or 5 bad offenses, and everyone else can put points on the board. You need to be in that top 5 to be an echelon better than everybody else, to where you can say, it doesn't matter. We can go full Bengals. It doesn't matter. We can have the crappiest defense on the planet. That's fine. We have this offense. I don't see that offense on this 49ers team. I see great players. I see tremendous possibilities. I'm not telling you at all that they can't be there. But as it stands now, I'm not betting on them being that kind of an offense. I think they're a top 10 offense, and I think they can be better than a bottom 10 defense. But I would need those two numbers to sort of get more aligned before I'm feeling really good. I'll tell you this, the number one player at training camp for the San Francisco 49ers, when you were just talking about the 49ers with people outside the building, people inside, the number one player is the schedule. because nobody has talked. Every time you talk about the 49ers, they're like, yeah, but the schedule. It doesn't matter how good Christian McCaffrey looks. It doesn't matter how good Brock. No, the schedule is the reason that the 49ers are going to be good. And I'm starting to wonder if that makes any damn sense. I'm not saying they're going to be bad. I think that there's a lot of quality on this football team. I don't think the bottom's falling out again. But ultimately, a lot of people are holding up 11, 12, 13 wins. And why? Not because of anything that's happening on the practice field. Not because of the players that they have on the roster, because of the schedule. And I don't buy it. I don't buy that. That feels like a fortune cookie wisdom to me, Rob.
The schedule will help, but you have to be good.
Maybe.
You have to be able to execute, and you have to be able to score in the red zone. And that's the big thing to me. Like when we look at this offense from last year, you look at the raw number of points that they put up, and I don't know that it tells the full story, because I think they had a really good offense last year between the 20s. The problem was once they got to the red zone, they couldn't run the ball at all. They could not execute in the red zone. And when they didn't,
you mean the thing that's most important to do, they couldn't do.
Right. And when the annoying part is when they didn't score in the red zone, they love to kick field goals, and they missed they missed 10 kicks. Jake Moody missed 10 field goals last season. He lost the kicking competition in camp, but won the starting job somehow, which doesn't make any sense.
Love it
whatsoever.
It's a new day with special teams, my friend.
So that whole thing makes no sense to me whatsoever. And it seems like, Dieter, that this is what the 49ers do, not just at kicker, but with their quote unquote competitions, is that they pick a guy they want to win before it ever starts, and they find a reason to give him the job. They did it. They're doing it with Ben Barch at left guard, who had one practice, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it's his job."
Well, okay, I don't want to hijack your show here, because I will do offensive line talk for roughly 7 hours. But Barch was a revelation in his game and a half last year. He was unbelievable. No one noticed. That's fine. He was so much better than Aaron Banks in a game and a half. Very small sample size. But it was to the point when you talk to the 49ers offensive linemen after Barch went down, they were like crestfallen. They're like, oh my God, we were just coming together. Like, we were just figuring out how to do this, because every team was attacking Aaron Banks again and again and again, and we couldn't stop them. And then you bring in Barch, and it all changed, and then he gets injured, and it was just like, season's over, because Ben Barch got injured.
I agree. And actually, with Johnny Dell, whose comment is up on the screen now, we did a Ben Barch breakdown yesterday on this channel. And
love the Barch.
It was good, but here was my pushback to Johnny, and I'll give you the same pushback. Yeah. His best game was in a blizzard in the snow when nobody could get footing. Like, that has to enter into it a little, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. But just because he was smart enough to wear the right spikes doesn't mean that he should be, getting demerits here. I'm sorry. Is that not everyone else could have worn the same spikes? No, I'm with you. I can't recall who they played. Was it Miami the week before that? Like, he was very good in that game. I liked what I saw, and it was clear to me in the way that the 49ers called the game that there was a level of trust in him that didn't exist with Aaron Banks, who, again, I'd like to note to all, somehow got $77 million. Every coach I talk to in the NFL, I like to talk to third-party coaches, scouts before the week, people who have to handle the game plan. I like to get out ahead of time. I'm not giving anything away. I don't have enough inside information to be, spying or anything. But how would you attack this 49ers offense? Right? How would you attack this 49ers defense? These are things that I want to know. These are things that Kyle Shanahan's surely thinking about. And to a man, it was like, oh yeah, you go after Banks. It's like, dude, Dominic Pooney's there. Brendel was getting pushed back into the prior week for the first half of the season. McKivitz will give you one absolute lollipop every 20 snaps. Like, Trent wasn't playing at a certain point, and they're like, yeah, you go after Banks. You go after Banks. He's the weak link. And somehow he got $77 million. So I'm pro Ben Barch. That's what I'm saying. Also, Colton McKivitz might be on the best contract in the NFL, given the cost of offensive linemen right now. I
certainly hope Barch is good, and I'm not saying he can't be.
And they got options there. They have better options there than they had last year.
McKivitz, it's hilarious the way that people are talking. I have people in the chat are like, we should re-sign Colton McKivitz right now to a 3-year deal. And I'm like,
you won't happen, but you should.
No, he shouldn't sign, because he was going to get a bag if he's.
Well, he just changed his agent. He just changed over to Brock's agent. And
to Brock's agent.
Yeah. Well, he saw what he could do. And then yeah, so you think about what Mike McGlinchey has got. He's like at 17.5. Jalen Moore, who might not even start for Kansas City, it seems, because Donovan Jackson, he's getting $15 million a year. And then I forget the right tackle's name in Atlanta, but he just signed for $15 million a year. A bunch of those guys have Mick to start their names. So, I mean, McKivitz is thinking I'm next in line here. McKean in Atlanta. McKean, McKivitz, and the Broncos. Oh, he was here forever. Jesus Christ. It doesn't matter. McGlinchey. Yeah. So if you have Irish ancestry and you can play right tackle, you're worth $15+ million a year. And then there's Jalen Moore, who I'm sure could like Irish dance or something. So yeah, it is a laughable market because of the incompetence at the collegiate level to produce ready-made guys for the NFL. So you require, multiple years of practice squads and things like that. Everybody's just looking for the quick fix because people think you can duct tape an offensive line together. They fire a lot of offensive line coaches around the league. It's legitimately a real problem that no one in the league talks about, the offensive line play. And this has been something I've been banging the drum on for 7-8 years, that the collegiate level is just like not producing enough. So yeah, Colton McKivitz is going to get paid, and it will not be by the 49ers, by the way. I have that on decent authority that they're like not, they love him. They think that he's great, but they're not going to pay market price for a guy that they don't think they think the market's out of control. So they'll just create their own. So if there's one interesting thing to watch on Saturday, it's how does Spencer Burford look at left tackle, and it's how does Austin Pleasance look at right tackle, because both of those guys are auditioning for the future right tackle job. So if you want to give a contract to somebody, whoever plays best at the two tackle positions at the end of preseason, sign them to a contract so that you have your McKivitz replacement ready to go for next year. And you're not having to, because all three of them are unrestricted. And you're not having to fight the marketplace because, I mean, if Spencer Burford gets the Jalen Moore treatment last year because Trent misses a couple of games, Spencer Burford might get $12-13 million a year, right? Like there is no telling what this free agent marketplace will do for offensive linemen. And the Niners think that they can moneyball the bejesus out of it. And I don't think they're wrong, but they need to be ahead of the curve.
They just did it with they replaced McGlinchey with McKivitz. And
there was one super painful year, to be fair. And everyone got anchored on that and still thinks that Colton McKivitz is that guy. They have no frame of reference on what other tackles do. Again, I don't blame anybody for not being in the weeds on offensive line play. That's for dorks like me and beyond. There are people worse, I assure you. But it is the lifeblood of a football team, right? What's Jim Harbaugh's line? The offensive line's the one position that can help every other position. Because you say, well, how's it help defense? If you can run the ball, I think your defense is going to be pretty happy. If you can't pass protect on third down and you're going 3 and out, you think your defense is going to be happy? Offensive line is everything in football. Defensive line is close second. Talk about your quarterbacks and your wide receivers and all these frou-frou, glamour things. No. It's about the trenches, baby. And I think the 49ers are in a position to have a decent trench unit on both sides of the ball this year. But going back to your initial point, it might take a minute, not just in a game, right? Like we're going to have to figure it out as the game goes along. Like on a macro level, it might take a minute for this team to congeal because they're not getting viable practice time right now with all the injuries. There are a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of new voices in the room with coaches. And that's the Kyle Shanahan model, right? Kind of dick around in September, except this September, going into the first week of October, you have 3 divisional games. Like you could be out of the division by October 6th. So now you probably will be losing to Jimmy Garoppolo in that process. So there would be a lot larger repercussions at hand. But it is, this is this is the year they have to hit the ground running. I have seen no indication that this team's going to hit the ground running.
I hope you're wrong. I guess that's what it comes down to. I hope that Brock is good enough and that, McCaffrey can carry them. If he's healthy, he has that ability.
Yeah.
Who knows
before?
Yes. So we'll have to wait and see. I want to talk about the defense, though, because I'm mad at you right now. You have pumped me up with mykel Williams. Starting with before the draft, I was like, oh, my God, he's going to be the greatest thing. And then
brutal.
They drafted him, and As soon as they have a padded practice, he gets hurt.
Yeah.
As soon as they have a joint practice now, he may have a knee injury. We don't know what the severity is. I don't care what Kyle Shanahan said yesterday. We have
That's
no
valid.
idea what that injury is.
Yeah.
This guy was hurt his last year in college all
Yeah.
year long.
Yeah.
What the hell, man? I'm worried about mykel Williams.
Yeah, I'm worried about you. You think this is fun for me, Rob? Like you think I enjoy this?
Your reputation is at stake, damn it.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, there's a reason he went 11, and it was health and it wasn't health, right? It was that his tape in his final year didn't pop the way that you would want it to have popped, given the fact that he was injured the entire year and he played on it all year. And I'm not a doctor enough to be like, oh, well, because of that, this is happening. It kind of seems like because of that, this is happening. It seems like he never got right. And maybe he does need some time off, but the 49ers also need him because the flip side of it is, Rob, every time he is on the field and is playing football, he looks awesome. He looks totally awesome. He's so much fun. I am a very misanthropic, dour man. He brings me such joy when I watch him play football. Him and CJ West, I just giggle like a schoolgirl. It's so much fun to watch defensive linemen absolutely kick ass in playing football. So, yeah, this is brutal. This is brutal. And I don't know what, I don't know what changes to get this thing right. I don't know if it's bad luck or if it's something structural. I don't know what's going on. But I can tell you that this team really does need him, not as a starter or anything, but just as a wild card, as a joker kind of player. Like, what an absolute trump card he is to throw in there on a third down at defensive tackle, or to line him up on the strong side and just say, we're not just going to set the edge. We're going to throw this dude into the stands and then we're going to get the ball carrier. Like, if you give him limited reps, he's going to pop so hard. And that would be a good first year for him, which is why you get a Huff, why you still have a Sam Aquanu, all these things. But man, if he never gets going, my concern with any player, even one that feels unbelievable, like preternaturally talented, such as mykel Williams, who I think that if he had stayed in school for another year, would be going 1-1. Like, even one of those. If you miss this first year of training camp, you are behind the 8 ball for the rest of your career. Like, it is so difficult to catch up. And I worry about that. I worry about that with how Ricky Pearsall started. Like, Ricky Pearsall is an immense talent. He's super fun to watch. Does it matter if he's always playing catch up and he can't stay healthy? Not really. Right? The best ability is availability. And I worry about it, with Isaac Guerrero, right? Is Isaac Guerrero ever going to practice for this football team? No. He's awesome. He's incredible. Like, Isaac Guerrero could be a revelation. Like, people are going to draft Isaac Guerrero in fantasy football late in rounds, and I can't tell them not to, because if he has the ball in his hands, anything can happen. He's awesome. But it doesn't matter because, one, will Kyle trust him, right? This is a level, there's perfectionism is Kyle Shanahan's number one trait, and it's his number one detriment. Like, he asks so much, and he asks for perfection. And you're not going to provide perfection if you haven't practiced. I don't know how you're supposed to just show up and be perfect at the NFL level without reps.
He's not going to have a choice this year, though, because they don't.
And we saw that last year. We saw that at the end of last year, and we also saw that Kyle aged about 10 years in the course of 6 weeks. Like, that's how it goes. So the injuries are really, really brutal right now. And it is August 8th. There is time for this thing to kind of get into gear, right? But I was talking about this last year. Now, last year, unluckily, there was a bunch of other nonsense. So we had all these distractions happening over here. But then we also just had, like, is anyone actually on the field today? Happening at all times, right? It was just, well, Brandon Ayuk, but is anyone actually out there? And that was the thing that killed them. People say, oh, it was the Ayuk nonsense. No, it wasn't. It was that no one wanted to go hard at practice because it felt like the team wasn't complete. It felt like, hey, Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams are not here. Why should we be going hard? So the entire team had a Super Bowl hangover for the entirety of training camp. And you could tell it really frustrated Brock, by the way. He'll never admit to it, but you could.
How could you tell?
He was way more demonstrative last year than any season I've seen of him. He's not a he's a good vocal leader. Like I don't, but he's a calm dude. Like he's not somebody who like throws a fit. Like last year during training camp, he had a lot of bad body language is the wrong term because bad body language implies that he was the problem. He had a lot of frustrated body language. Like, what are we doing here? A lot of this. He's just doing a lot of like, come on,
Throwing hands up.
just like what? Wait, the energy that I got off of Brock last year from a good distance away was we're just wasting our time today. You're just wasting my time. Who am I throwing to? Robbie Chosen? We're wasting time today. And Brock is such a serious operator. He every day has to be towards the goal. Like that's his entire process. Like, here is the goal. Today we get towards the goal. Stay on the process. Stay on the process. Stay on the process. And last training camp, it didn't feel like there was a process. This year, and I will not speak from, I don't have enough experience out there because I'm on pat leave. But like, for everything that I've heard, it's getting to the point where it's like, who's out there? How are we supposed to get ready for the season if I don't know who's on my team? The wide receiver room is a great case in point. The running back room is going to be a great case in point for the rest of the training camp. And the idea that they can do what they said they were going to do last year, which is, end of the camp, we'll ramp it up and everything will be A-okay. Like, how'd that work out? I mean, I guess they beat the Jets. Then it went.
They beat the Jets and they had to kick 5 field goals in the game, and they still beat 6 field goal, whatever it was.
What a magical night it was, Rob.
God. Thank you for the super chat, Foot, who says, I agree with Dieter. Zero indication this team comes out hot. 1, they're historically slow starters. 2, the roster is worse than previous years, and nothing says otherwise. I will say I was really heartened to see that CJ West is still looking good against people, because that's what I've been saying is like, we hear all these nice things in practice. Okay, good. Now you have another team coming in, a very good team coming in.
Playoff team, yeah.
And you still check the boxes against them. And then I really start to believe. So when I heard the CJ West look good, I was like, okay, maybe we got something here.
He has hands of stone and violence in his heart, and he is just a joy. He is so much fun. My favorite parts, well, there's now 2. Consistently over the last 10, 15 years. Jesus, has it been 15 years? I've been covering the NFL. Let's call it 10, just to make sure I don't have an existential crisis on the air. Over the last 10 years, my favorite parts of training camp have been one-on-one drills, offensive line versus defensive line. It's like American Gladiators for me. Is it terribly informative? No. In fact, it has very little to do with anything that happens on an NFL football field, but damn, is it fun to just watch guys go mano a mano and see what their best moves. CJ West was driving people so far back that they had to move the drill. So there's a certain amount of space behind the reps where, like, an offensive lineman stands as a quarterback, and some coaches. The coaches kept having to move back because CJ West was driving these poor SOBs, including the Nuge, my beloved Nuge, driving them off of the line of scrimmage, just driving them so far back that the coaches were feeling like they were in peril. So they had to move the drill, or they had to move back for CJ West. And I'm like, it's great to see, because it does tell you that this tape stuff still matters, right? As much as I, can appreciate that projection of athletic traits and things of that nature really do matter when it comes to NFL drafting. Sometimes you just want to watch a dude kick another dude's ass on tape and be like, oh, he's good. Like, it can't be that complicated, right? And this guy, you see him walking around and you'd think that he was at the bottom of the roster. He's at the top of the depth chart, baby. He is a specimen, and it is just a joy to watch him. And I'll say this too. There have been contrasting reports, or maybe late positive reports, but a lot of negatives on Alfred Collins.
Yep.
That doesn't surprise me in the least bit, right? As I said on this show, B for the draft grade, boom or bust. Collins is very useful for this team right now, even if he's not impressive in training camp, because Collins is so big and so strong. Collins' issue is that he has a hard time disengaging. Like, that's his issue. They're trying to teach him to do something that he was never asked to do at Texas, which is to disengage, throw a guy off you, and get to the quarterback, regardless on if it's a pass down or run down. Like, get into the goddamn backfield. That's all he wants. That's all they want. Chris Kucerik. Split the gap, go. He stays very low for a very big man. That's the number one trait. So we're not dealing with, well, there is, my co-host Jake Hutchinson said, they're starting to talk about Collins the way they talked about Kinlaw, where they just mentioned how big he is.
I know.
Yes.
I said that early.
Yeah. He is not Kinlaw. In fact, he might be Bizarro Kinlaw, because Kinlaw, his issue was he was 6'5", 300. I mean, he was a specimen. He was also vertical every snap. It didn't matter how low he started, and they kept getting him lower and lower and lower. He would immediately go straight up. He wasn't built for it. Collins has an incredible, he looks like he's on the blocking sled on every rep. So he's staying low, and that guy can hold the gap. There's no question in my mind. You can put him at one technique tomorrow, and he can hold the gap. Can he give you anything else? Probably not. But that's a really valuable thing to a team that couldn't hold a damn gap last year and who doesn't have a clear one technique. So you play CJ at 3, which might not be Robert Saleh's ideal. They probably want him at 1, probably be a bit more explosion and the ideal situation for a Chris Kucerik line. But if you can play Collins at 1, he can hold the gap. Everyone else can just go because he's so big. He'll hold it down. I mean, he's he's holding the door. It's Game of Thrones. Just everyone go around him.
Hodor.
Yeah. There we go. Who would have thought? And I feel like there's some real value there. And I also think that their floor on the defensive tackle position is just much higher than it was last year. I mean, we're going to the point where Evan Anderson was arguably their best defensive tackle last year. I mean, you can get into an argument between Jordan Elliott and Evan Anderson. I don't want to because it's depressing.
Yeah, no thanks.
But Evan Anderson, he'll make the team, but Sebastian Valdez looks pretty good from everything I've heard. And I was high on Valdez coming into camp. Evan Anderson's technically fighting for a roster spot on this team. He was your best defensive tackle last year. That speaks to a level of improved quality that it might not manifest into a great defensive line this year, but you feel like you got a foundation for the future, and maybe even just the second half of the year, things turn around and you're in a much better spot.
We wait to hear about mykel Williams. Alfred Collins, I'm starting to hear some positive things. You know who I'm hearing a lot about, which is interesting? D. Winters is getting all sorts of hype. I mean, the coaches are saying he covers better than Fred Warner, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. How do we get to this point? When did that go up for grabs?
Well, Johnny Holland is not a reliable narrator on stuff like that, the linebackers coach. But
what do we believe with Christian McCaffrey was talking about how good D. Winters is in coverage. Is he that good? Is the health the only question with D. Winters?
No, there's many questions, but I'll tell you this: it's never been in question on if D. Winters can fly. That he is fast. He's been fast since the day he showed up. That's the reason they got him, and he's put on a little weight year over year. So now he looks like an outside linebacker. I guess all linebackers are middle linebackers now, it seems. So now he looks like an off-ball linebacker. Ugh, that's the new term of the year. I hate it, but here we go. And the question is, we're not going to find out until week 1 if he could do it, because as Heineman says, if this guy was so flippin' good, why were they playing Devondre Campbell last year? I mean, in the building, they're like, we can't live like this anymore. Anybody but Devondre, we'll play Demetrius Flanagan fouls over. And yet they never did. So really, what was the issue? Yeah, there were some injuries in there too. So the issues are, 1, can he recognize it to utilize his speed? I don't know. I don't think we're going to find that out in practice.
Yeah.
2, can he actually tackle the person? This is the underrated aspect. We never talk about it. It's always about speed. I don't know if you get there, can you do the thing that you're supposed to do? And D. Winters, and I will, until I am proven incorrect, and we will not see this in training camp, and I doubt that he plays much, if ever, in preseason because he's so vital to this team. He's Ralph Wiggum coming through the window, man. I mean, he tackles like a missile, which is no arms. He just goes in, he just dives into you, just face first, like he's about to dive into a pool. And that's not a good way to tackle.
No.
It's disadvantageous, frankly. I don't care how fast you're coming. NFL guys will let that bounce right off him. Meanwhile, you're on the ground and probably dislocated your shoulder, which is an injury he's had many times before. So can he actually tackle yet? I don't know. But I do think it's telling that they're like, D. Winters, D. Winters, D. Winters. Does not that seem like a little bit of an indictment on Nick Martin?
Well, yeah. I mean, Robert Saleh basically said, essentially, he said, when Nick Martin recognizes it, he can go get it and he looks great. But he doesn't always do that, essentially. And as you pointed out when he was drafted, he's not a large man.
No,
so
he itty bitty. And
yeah,
I can appreciate that with like an Upton Stout, who Upton Stout is also Upton Stout's about it. Like he is here to play football.
he's getting the love.
And he should, because he pops. Every time he's on there, you're like, wow, that guy is a great football player. Don't know how he's going to live very long, but he's a great football player because he is also so small. And maybe he's just one of those preternaturally, he's just one of those people that's been given the blessing of the football gods, and he'll just do it. Tyrann Mathieu wasn't very big. He just did it forever, right? Sometimes will overcomes all of your physical limitations. Maybe that's Upton Stout. But in the meantime, we're going to have a great time because he's awesome. Nick Martin could also be doing that right now. I haven't heard anyone say that he is. I've heard nothing but negative things about Nick Martin. Now, I will also say that the stuff that I hear is probably a bit tinged because people know that I was not high on the Nick Martin draft pick. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a projection at best and foolhardy at worst. And so maybe people are delivering me information that they feel like I might like. So that's all I can say. I didn't get enough of a read on him in the practices I've been out there. Maybe he'll say one way or another if he's going to be there or not. But the fact that no one's talking about him and the fact that people are pumping up D. Winters as some sort of demigod gives me an indication that weak side linebacker might not be the strongest position for this team. But I do think that D. Winters has an incredible opportunity. And I think that, in the past, he's shown enough to where you can imagine a world in which he takes advantage of that opportunity. And this is it. This is it. It's all in right now.
Yeah.
Because there are no backups for him. I mean, they'd probably play Luke Gifford as the weak side. Yeah. Stone Blanton's apparently their best linebacker. I never see him on the field. They'd find a way to get Tatum Bethune, who I just don't particularly think is very good out there. Their linebacker situation is rough. And if D. Winters were to get injured at all between now and the end of camp, I think that they'd have to be on the trade market trying to find somebody. Or they would be signing somebody who got cut, and that would be your week one starter. So add it to the pile of positions where we got problems, baby.
That is a terrifying thought. Like that, if D. Winters is the guy that you need to be, the guy couldn't even get through a series last year, let alone a game.
He feels like a linchpin player. Like there's just certain, like, not to go full San Francisco Giants, but like, is Gerard Encarnacion the most important Giant? Like, no. And yet somehow every time he's in there, you feel so much better. Like he's a linchpin player. Pardon the pun, given who makes the roster for this team. But like, it is, D. Winters being competent goes a long way to the 49ers making the playoffs. I'll say that. And him not being competent could be the start of a Rube Goldberg machine of this thing just kind of falling apart across the board.
Oh, boy.
I know. Hey, listen, you bring on a pessimist, you're going to get pessimism.
Well, one thing that I'm optimistic about is Nick Bosa. The reports about Bosa is that he is absolutely literally wrecking practice to the point where like they can't do stuff because he keeps blowing everything up.
He's awesome.
And I was encouraged by that. And I loved the comment that he had earlier where he basically said, as a player, you're trying to add all these things to your game and you're trying to always build year after year. And he was like, this year, I'm just going to do the crap that I'm good at and what makes me great. And it's like, do the thing, right? If you're a good cook, don't worry about farming, just cook. And I'm hopeful that he just kicks ass and gets back to his defensive player of the year form.
That'd be huge for them. I mean, it would. I think that Nick Bosa, I was having this conversation the other day. I can't remember with who at camp. Is Nick Bosa the most underrated player in the NFL? Like
57 on the list, right? 57 he was.
I'm not sure that there's a lot of teams that would take 56 players over him, right? If you were to have an expansion draft right now, Nick Bosa is going pretty early. or whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
If the whole league gets thrown into the Madden simulator, like Nick Bosa's going pretty early. And that's with all of the positional scarcity nonsense that we would do. I'm not, especially too when you see some of these, Micah Parsons getting 40 mil. Micah Parsons doesn't do anything against the run. Nick Bosa's really good against the run. Nick Bosa's a really good all-around football player. And it would be great to see him put up monster numbers. But all I know is this. It's kind of the same argument I made for mykel Williams last year at Georgia. Like, I don't care what the numbers are. Every time I watch him, I go, oh, he won. Oh, he won. He keeps winning, and he keeps winning big. And yeah, maybe the quarterback didn't go down, or maybe, he just got pressured. And it wasn't for any sort of lack of trying. It was because the entire game plan was built around go the other way. Like, get away from that guy. And for the 49ers last year, that was a pretty clear thing that other teams were doing, right? They were attacking Aaron Banks on offense, and on defense, they're like, fine, Bosa, go the other way, because he's the only guy who can kill you. And they were right, because Leonard Floyd was just like, I'll just hang out here for a while. I'll just stand, like, I'm going to stand here, and maybe you'll run into me. And he did a lot. I think he got double-digit sacks because people just ran into him. It was a disheartening campaign for him, for sure, but I'm not the biggest like Bryce Huff guy, but he's clearly someone who can positively affect winning for the 49ers. Like, he's clearly an asset for this team. I'm a big fan of Sam Aquano. I think he's going to have a big year. Interested to see what Yetur Gross-Matos has to offer. We know about the young guys at defensive tackle. Jordan Elliott now doesn't have to do as much. Maybe that's a good thing. I'm not a big Jordan Elliott guy, but like, he did enough to impress some coaches last year. I got to take their word for it to a degree. Who knows what mykel is? But there's some depth here, right? The floor for this defensive line has been raised. The ceiling will be defined by Nick Bosa. And if he can get some serious help, and I think that if they rotate right and they're smart about their substitutions and they get some pop from guys that have the ability to provide pop, Nick Bosa could have an absolutely monster year, because they can't just run the game plan that every team ran last year, which is run away from Nick. At a certain point, that will be running into somebody else in a serious and dangerous way. So I'm bullish. I'm bullish on the defensive line if it can get healthy before the end of camp. And luckily, they don't have a game for a month, so we can maybe place a couple shekels on that.
Yeah, I think it's possible that Nick Bosa essentially has sort of the same year in terms of like an ability standpoint, but his numbers end up way better just because of everybody else on the defensive line. You're going to have somebody coming from the opposite side, unlike last year.
Last year was brutal. I mean, and it just take you even one step further. It wasn't just, oh, well, Nick was switching sides a lot. He was just trying to find a way to affect the game. And you could tell he was getting frustrated too. But and I had a long conversation. I won't divulge all of it, but he was just like, it's probably not great if Sam Aquano feels like a revelation, man. Like, Sam is great, but like, we went through every defensive end me and him went through every defensive end that played opposite of him. And we just went through, could they set the edge or not? And there were a lot of no's.
I thought it was really interesting when Bosa said, you look out there on the field and you see NFL bodies, which is a good thing. Like, he said that, yes. I was like, that tells you all you need to know about the guys they were running out there last year.
Yeah.
Like, Bosa looks around and he's like, okay, like, we may have something here.
That is right. I don't know if he has NFL players yet, because a lot of them are young, but they have NFL bodies. And the one guy who doesn't, if we're being honest, maybe CJ
West.
And there's no question that he's an NFL player. He's a freak. He doesn't make any sense. Those are the best kind of football players. The ones that you look at and you go, what? And then he's out there just wrecking crew. Save your Aaron Donalds and save your Cam Newtons, save your specimens for another time. Give me men who look miscast as NFL players who absolutely wreck. Give me the John Weekses of the world, baby.
John Weeks, long snapper extraordinaire.
Fire hydrant of a man. What a beaut.
The special teams, that's another, like, we talk about all the questions on offense and defense. Like, if they're going to be good, they're going to have to make up for it somehow. And that is going to be special teams.
100%.
Whether the return units, I mean, we saw this team get into trouble multiple times. All these late game collapses, a lot of times special teams was a big part of that. They're going to have to get their stuff together. And I loved Brant Boyer just with the opposite, with the anti-Kyle Shanahan attitude, which is, it's not a punishment to play special teams. No. We are here. We are going to be a part of winning. They desperately need that, because everything Shanahan gives off is, the opposite. Don't screw it up. I'm banishing you to special teams. You don't matter at all. And that's the wrong attitude.
Well, and this is a demerit against Kyle in his career. He has hired guys who don't feel strongly about special teams. Even Richard Hyde, it was always just a means to get another job, right? I'm the special teams coordinator. You want to talk about like feeling punished? I mean, Sorensen, he got fired as DC. Do you want to be our special teams coordinator? That's how Kyle views special teams coordinator. So luckily someone talked some sense into him and realized, hey, this hidden yardage, it really does matter. It really does. And you guys suck at it, by the way. Like your reputation in the league is that you suck at the third facet of football. And you know what teams never do? The good ones. Like maybe that's the difference between them winning a Super Bowl and losing a Super Bowl. I don't want to get too, granular on it, but like the Kansas City Chiefs never suck at special teams. The Baltimore Ravens never suck at special teams. Like good teams are good at special teams. I know the Patriots are probably the model, but like back in the day, maybe that's a bit too much. But I mentioned earlier, my favorite drills during training camp are one-on-ones. I have to add in something because it's the first time I've seen this. I love watching them practice special teams now. They're running drills that I've never seen any NFL team. Now, obviously, I've limited experience, Dolphins, Rams, all these, but like they're running drills that I've never seen run during training camps or OTAs or anything. They're like working on practical things to help them in special teams. Most special teams practice is just figuring out who's lining up. And they practice it. Okay, let's do a field goal. Let's just, everybody lined up. Oh, you're not offset. Great. And we're going to run it. And that's the end of special teams for today. Get out the jugs machine. We're just going to shoot some stuff up in the air. We're just going to make sure we're all lined up right. And we're going to see if this guy can catch it. And then we'll put juice check back there for maybe throw an offensive lineman back there for some comedic relief. Like that's what special teams practice has been for the 49ers for years. Kyle wouldn't even watch the kickers. He had no idea what they were doing over there. And frankly, they weren't doing much. They just kind of stand around, which is par for the course, to be fair. But like the other day, I'm at training camp, and what do I see? Greg Joseph was still on the team. What do I see them doing? They're pushing a tackling dummy at John Weeks, who's snapping it and then practicing being bull rushed. And I'm like, oh, I've never seen anyone do that before. I'm seeing Brant Boyer run these guys in a formation that kind of curl around the ball. They're running inside of cones. It's like, oh, that's a very practical punt, return, coverage drill. Like not just who's out there, but how are we going to contain? I'm seeing a lot of interesting stuff with special teams. It's a joy to watch. I don't understand all of it, if I'm being honest, but it's a joy to watch because I'm like, you would think that at the NFL level, they would practice like this. But apparently, if you're at the NFL, you just are an expert at special teams. You know how to do everything already. And so, it doesn't matter that you never did special teams in college because you were going to go to the NFL. What matters is that you're in the NFL now, so you automatically know all this stuff, therefore will be good at it. And obviously, the numbers bear that out with them being the worst team in special teams for years on years on years.
So that gives me hope, right? If they won't be a complete tire fire for 1/3 of the game, that might help them out this year.
Very much so.
Thank you, Darth Balls, new YouTube channel member. Appreciate that. You get the fist pump from me. Shout out to all our YouTube channel members. We really appreciate it. It's less than $3 a month. You get custom emojis, membership badges, priority comment response. We do appreciate it. And we appreciate you, Dieter, giving us so much of your time. I always tell you, oh, we're only going to do this amount of time. And then I go way over.
You accurately never told me anything. And by the way, this is a problem that we seem to run into on every show that I've ever done. I'm lucky with radio that I can just truncate segments. That's what happens. I have 14 segments ready to go, and we're just like, I guess we're going to have to dump 6 of them because he just kept rambling on about Brant Boyer's special teams drills. But I appreciate you listening to me for this period.
I love that. Like, that is exactly the kind of thing, because that's why stuff happens, right? If they're going to be better on special teams, it's because they're practicing this stuff. It's not magic.
Correct. I think they were operating on the premise that it would be magic for several years, and the magic never showed up. I guess it did at Lambeau that one time, but other than that, not so great. But, hey, Mitch Wishnowsky had so many cool punts. He could punt it so many. He was like Phil Mickelson out there, a short game master.
They tried to sell the idea that Mitch Wishnowsky had a punt that could make people fumble.
I saw it one time. It was pretty awesome. And I'm like, do that every time. And they're like, he can't. And I'm like, you should make the plane out of the black box. Like, that seems like you've broken punting. No, he did it. He did it against the Bengals one time. And you'd see it in practice every now and again. And you're like, wow, that must be really difficult to punt because there's no read on it. It was like a reverse torpedo coming. It was wild. And you're like, wow, that is going to be a really difficult ball to catch. And it turned out, everyone was just dying on it. Now you're like, well, punt returners on this team suck. So probably par for the course. And he did it against the Bengals. And I think they got a free touchdown out of it. And it's like, why wouldn't you do that every time? And I asked, and they're like, oh, well, you can't do it every time. I'm like, why?
You have nothing to do all day except practice that.
Why? And it's like, I figured that the answer was going to be something to like, oh, well, it's too inconsistent. So you have to do it only certain yardages. Like the risk isn't worth the reward most of the time. No, they just kept saying he can't do it. Like it was like a physical limitation. I'm like, it's like he was throwing a screwball or something. He was going to blow out his knee. I'm like,
that'll be fine
doing that. Yeah.
Like, we're okay.
Blaze of glory, Mitch. I mean, you went out anyway.
Yeah. Oh boy. Well, that'll be one of the things I'm watching tomorrow for sure. How does the special teams look? There's a list of things that I'm going to be looking for.
Well, and the best part is that those guys will just stay on the field when they're done with special teams because that's how Kyle's going to treat training camp. They might have guys going two ways. If Travis Hunter, eat your heart out. The 49ers might be playing guys two ways tomorrow because they don't have enough bodies.
That was what was annoying to me about the whole kicking competition. It was like you couldn't have one because once again you were so injured that you need the roster spot. Who did they make their head of training this year? Dustin Perry, the same guy that's been here. Like, make it make sense.
I can't, and it's one of those things that probably will never get the scrutiny that it deserves because it does. We run up on a limit of expertise rather quickly on this side of the microphone.
Yeah,
we're like, why is this team so injured all the time? This training staff seems to not be good at their jobs. And then we're like, I don't know. Like, I'm not a doctor. So what we need is a doctor. That should be we need doctors who can go in and give us an independent audit of the 49ers training situation. Good luck with that one, Rob. I'm leaving it to you.
Yeah, I'll get right on that. I mean, this is year 9 of Kyle Shanahan, and they have been in the top 10 most injured teams every year except one. And the one year that they weren't, they went to the Super Bowl and kicked almost everybody's ass that year.
That's right. They were absolutely awesome. This is the one year where you really can't afford the injuries at the same level because of the purge of March 2025. Like, they got rid of so much depth, and they did a nice job. I'll give them credit. They did a nice job of rebuilding that depth. Maybe not ready-made depth, but in the future, you should feel pretty good about it. I think they drafted well. Not great, but well. This is the one year where you don't want to be. Last year, we saw what happened when they needed to lean on depth. This year, they can't do it in the same way. Like, they're less deep than they were last year, or at least the ceiling isn't as high as it was last year. Pick one or the other, because either way, it's a very different ball team. And I think a lot of folks, again, number one player of the camp, the schedule. A lot of folks are just being like, oh, the schedule's so easy. It ain't easy if you're playing Jordan Watkins as your number one receiver. And I like Jordan Watkins. It ain't easy if Nick Sikelj is having to start at 2 different offensive line positions. It ain't easy if you got Evan Anderson and Kalia Davis as your starting defensive tackles. It ain't easy if you don't have a weak side linebacker. We didn't even talk about safety, but like, it ain't easy if you don't have the roster that shows up on the Madden video game for week 1, because it's football. Guys get injured all the time, and this team doesn't have a lot of slack to give.
Deliver us from evil Jason Pinnock.
I kind of feel okay about their safety situation. Like, I'm interested to see what Marquise Sigel does in the preseason games. The coaches talk him up in such a way that I'm a little overexcited about him. But Richie Grant has looked good when I've seen him out there, which was a bit of a surprise, seeing as he looked pretty awful with the Atlanta Falcons last year. And then I liked Pinnock coming out of Pitt. I know he's a smart guy, versatile guy. Big questions about if Jair Brown's going to take advantage of his last opportunity with the 49ers, but there's some depth there, right? There's guys that you can throw out there that you don't feel like, oh, this is a problem. Do I want to live in a world where both Richie Grant and Jason Pinnock are starting? No, but if one of them's starting, I feel fine. I really do.
Just get us back to get us back to Malik coming back, man.
Yeah, but don't rush him either. That's the other thing, right? Like, this is the issue that you run into with so many football teams that are operating on these margins like the 49ers are operating on this year with talent, which is, okay, guys are injured, going to happen, NFL. And then you're like, we need you back like yesterday. So now the process changes from getting the guy healthy to where when he's back, he's all the way back, to now getting him to a point where he can come back, and now risking injury again and it beginning. So I can't say one way or another what's happening in that regard, but that's my fear for the Niners, is that they're so questionable at so many positions that when the top guys get injured, they're going to get rushed back, and then you're not actually getting them back. You're just getting temporary relief before they get injured again, and then you're just trying, and it kind of snowballs into a pile of crap for the season. That's my concern, and we've seen it before with this team.
I will do my voodoo dance. I will do live sacrifices. I will do whatever I need to do to appease the football gods for just average injury luck this year.
There it is. That's all you're asking for.
Yes.
I just don't want to be subject to an Aaron Schatz article this season. Just
if I have to hear about adjusted games lost one more year, I swear to God, I'm going to poke out my own eyeballs.
I'm going to adjust your games. That's what I'm going to do.
Well, nicely done. Well, thank you very much, Dieter. We really appreciate it. As always, if you want more, check out the Dieter and Hutch podcast. Search it up on YouTube. Check out his work in the San Jose Mercury News, which for some reason I can't remember without writing it down. I don't know why, but I apologize for that.
Just one of the largest newspapers in America. It's fine.
Seriously, like, I have certain blanks with certain things. I'm always like, is it the San Jose Mercury News? Is it the San Jose? Because like, what is? I don't understand.
Yeah. They're newspapers. They were these things that people used to throw onto porches every day. It's a wild world.
I just used it for my silly putty. That's
Go watch a movie. They show up every now and again back in the 80s and 90s.
Thank you again. I really appreciate it, man.
Anytime, Rob.